Hey guys, it's Audio. I just woke up, so I'm almost naked, so I'm not gonna have the camera on me. But I wanted to talk about Dr. Stone. Uh, I don't know how many videos this is gonna be because like the limit's what 220. But I do better talking about something like a rant style than I do just like typing it out. So like, here I go. Okay, so like, um. I known about Dr. Stone since like 2017. Super Eye Patch Wolf. I've been watching that nigga for a long time. Damn. Uh, Made like a Shonen Jump hype video, and like, and then he talked about Dr. Stone, and I can only assume that at the time of 2017, the Stone Wars was either started already or is just about to start. And even at that time, Super iPad Wolf was like, hey yo, this Soden is fire, it's gas, it's heat. You should all hop on this train because it only gets better from here. It goes up, it never goes down. And I'm like, okay, if he's co-signing this manga like this, I'm not an avid manga reader, so I'm like, okay, I'm pacing. I can wait for the anime to drop, and then the anime drops. And I think it's heat. And I think it's fire. And I tell all my friends, they think it's fire. The people that watch it. Um, we have to wait for the Stone Wars. That took how long? Uh, and that was fire too. And then my friend Bears is like, all right, that was fire. I need to read the manga. So he reads the manga. He comes back to me. Yeah, bro, this shit is fucking heat. You gotta read it. And I'm like, okay, I'm done reading, but I'll get on it, I guess. And I got on it, but never completed because, again, I'm not an avid manga reader. But then I hear, okay, we're gonna have to wait till 2023 to get more anime Dr. Stone. And I'm like, well, I guess, right? Like, I right? And like, so and so here we are today, current time. I just completed Dr. Stone last night, less than time is it? 3:06. My computer's right here. Um, I completed it in like 8 o'clock in the morning. I had to read like 60, 80 chapters or some bullshit like that because I just couldn't stop reading at that point. Like, I just couldn't stop reading. So, bro, I guess what I want to say next is better if I just start a new video. So, okay. So, like, my favorite general studies, like, classes are, like, science and, like, history / like, social studies. Shit like that. And that's because, like, even when I was in class, the things that, like, interested me the most is how we got to this point as human beings. But I can give a fuck about, like, English and, like, math is hard. But, like, I look at learning about, the earth, everything that make up our earth, and, like, shit that you would learn in science class. And I like the history of the world because, again, so that's how we got to this point, the way I'm talking to you guys now. And it's just, Dr. Stone is like if Bill Nye was the first person on the crack epidemic. Like, that's how crazy it is. It's like if Einstein just did a line, Like, I don't even know if those types of drugs was out in like, what, the, like, 40s or some shit. But like, it's so fucking, it's so off the walls in like the most logical way possible. I can't really like explain it because it's just science. It's just science, and it all makes sense, and that's so fucking crazy. Why am I getting hyped over a nigga making soap? Everything happens, make logical sense. You know, it's like, oh, we get dirty. If we get dirty, we're gonna get sick. So we gotta make soap. Oh, but the shit that we use to make soap is basically the foundation of like everything we're gonna be making in like the first half of the series. It's so insane how like how the building blocks just line up so perfectly for them. And it's not perfect. Like they still have to do trial and error and all the science bullshit, right? They still have to make a roadmap. They still need to build like all the components they need. They still need to build the things to make and hold the components they need. And it's, but like how we get to those points when you finally see the finished product, whether it's something as small as like a bar of soap, or like something as you think wouldn't be important, like ramen, or like a fucking drone. Everything in line is so wonderful. It's amazing. Like you feel excited for these characters when they finally make whatever the fuck they're making, right? And it's just, it's such a feel good feeling. Even if they're in really dire situations, and they get into some really fucking dire situations. Like, holy shit, bro. And this ain't even talking about the fucking characters, man. Holy shit. I don't think I've ever been so invested in, like, characters, in, like, a character, or I mean, a cast of that caliber. Like, Durarara has a beautiful cast of characters, right? And then I can still say, maybe I don't give a fuck about one or two of them, right? Even though all the characters are fire in their own way. But, like, Dr. Stone's like the same way. I genuinely think, like, Dr. Stone is in, like, my top 10. Because, like, I really only feel this way about, like, my top 10. Yeah, man, I just don't fucking know. The characters are so fucking good. How did this nigga write characters so fucking good? Everybody, like, it's a modern shonen, right? So, like, the first thing that people think about modern shonen, it's like My Hero, right? And like, in My Hero, that nigga really only wants you to care about, like, not even half the cast. Like 7 or like 8. If I'm being really, really, really generous, right? Characters have only had their moments to shine. Some characters have only had their moment to shine like twice. And both times has been like tournament art that is like designed around every character getting a chance to shine, right? But that nigga only really wants to care about like Deku, Uraka, Torodoki, Bakugo. That's it, really. In that beautiful class of 1A filled with like beautiful personalities and all that jazz, he only wants you to care about a couple. Some characters barely get screen time throughout the entire show. Like, I would be really surprised if you remember fucking Sugar Rush's real name or like his voice. You know, if you watch the anime. And like, but with Dr. Stone, everybody gets a chance, bro. Everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets a shot. Everybody have their moment to shine multiple times. Characters that are introduced like in the very beginning are like still relevant throughout the entirety, right? Now, obviously, as more characters get introduced, there's only so much you can put into a chapter, right? There's only so much that a character can do in their arc. So it makes sense for some characters to fall back a little bit after we focus on these new characters and like what they can do and blah blah blah, right? But even those background characters, you know they're doing stuff. You know they're having shit in the background. They're not just static like you were seeing like My Hero. And I'm not saying this as like a knock on My Hero, more it's just like how fucking good Dr. Stone is at building, at world building, and making sure that everybody in the show gets like a chance to shine. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's because like everybody has their own strengths. There are things that they're not good at, but like one or two things that they're really, really, really fucking good at. Like holy shit, bro! Like these are some superhuman feats that these niggas are doing, but it makes sense because you learn about them and you grow with them. So it makes sense that, yeah, Siku is like one of the greatest minds to ever exist. But that's because that nigga came out the room just fucking studying because he wanted to build a rocket. And so he got his dad, who was trained to be an astronaut, to buy him basically all the equipment that he would need. Even to the point where his dad had to, stepdad, had to sell his own car just to buy him shit. Right? Because he believes in Shinku enough that he was going to put the effort to learn all this shit. And he did. Shinku literally was emailing people in NASA, and they were responding back to him about all the shit that he needed to learn. And like, and he studied that shit. He memorized that shit. So of course, he's the smartest brain we got. And his best friend, Taiju, who is not the not the smartest nigga in the set, you know? But like, he cares about his friend and he stands up for him. So he did all the heavy lifting for him. And he defended him when he needed it from bullies and shit like that. And because he was doing all of that, he built up this bottomless pit of stamina. So it makes sense that he can just, you know, do the shit that he does in the series without ever getting tired. Because he spent his whole life just stamina building by lifting all the heavy shit that he needed, that Shinku needed him to do. Right? Fucking Yuzuriha, their other best friend, has been in the arts and crafts session. Oh, this video's getting long. Has been like the arts and crafts portion of school since she was a child. And she was always her prodigy at it. Shinku also needed her help to make dogs for the rocket ship. Because why not, you know? And so she spent her whole life doing that. So it only makes sense that she's the best handy person that they got. Kaseki spent his entire life in the village without any real friends or stuff like that. So he had all that time to himself, 50 plus years, to just be building shit and building shit and building shit. Most of the shit they got in the village, he built. The big ass bridge they have in the village, he built. So of course it makes sense that when it comes to crafting shit and building the shit that they need for whatever science project they do, they go to him because he's the best they got. You know? And I can go literally all day on this. On every single character. Because that nigga took the time to make sure that these characters are good at what they do, so these characters will always be a lot relied on, right? No characters will fall. Even characters that isn't really outstanding in everything will have some sort of type of quirk or something like that that would still allow them to be relied on no matter what happens, you know? Like Gingra. When the chips are, he's a sleazy douchebag, but when the chips are down, you know you can rely on him, you know? He's that type of character. He's a character that, like, he always gets punched, he always gets looked down on because he's just a fucking sleazebag. But even then, the characters know that they can rely on him because he's always there when shit hits the fan. And I'm not even talking about like the antagonists and the villains that he had to go through, right? It's such a beautiful stepping stone of power creep in a world where there's no power. It's actually fucking insane. Because they let us know from the very beginning that this science set is gonna be what saves us all, you know? So science is power. So it makes sense that every roadblock, every major human roadblock that they come that they come in contact with, it's just smarter and smarter. They'll go from Magnum, this stupid brain, 2 brain cells, 1 brain cell, meathead, idiot, that they use science to train. Well, not for the most part, but they use science to beat, you know? Then they have to fight Tsukasa, who is literally the strongest human alive. And of course, he has his reasons for why he's so fucking strong, you know? And the reason is sappy and it's cute and Tsukasa is such a good character. But he has his own philosophy. So they literally have to go to war with him. This is the Stone War arc. Because he has control over the nitric acid, which is the main component used to free the niggas from Stone. So how are we gonna raid his area? Obviously, he revived only the strongest niggas, or the niggas that can really or the strongest or the most agile, or people who are also really smart that would be along on his side. How can he possibly? Oh, how you want to know how we do it? We build a fucking tank. Next, we have to fight this old nigga. I forgot my nigga's name. I'm not that good with names. I'm sorry, but he has a weapon that can turn people into stone. And we get, that's like the halfway point of the series, bro. He has the weapon that can turn people into stone. So what do we do? Oh, well, we don't really know how it works. So if we just build a fucking drone, we can knock it out. Like, how do we fight this guy who has a petrification stone? He has the power to turn people into stone. How do we do this? Well, if we, just build a drone and we hit it out of the sky, okay, but how do we build a drone? What the fuck do you mean? Well, you see, a motor is pretty simple. All you need is a couple of magnets, you just make a magnet. You know how to make a magnet. We did this 70 chapters ago. You know how to make a little small battery. We built this 70 chapters ago. We built some little propellers. All we use is the motors and like that. It's like everything we learned just comes, like, the drone, I think, is when it's solidified that this is just one of the best shit ever. Because it's just something that you would never think. And like, the characters have the same reaction that you do. If they're from the stone world, they're like, what the fuck is a drone? if they're from the 21st century, they're just like, how the fuck are we going to build a drone? It's like, yeah, bro, just fucking little propellers, motors, and shit. We need, the type of materials and shit. We can do this shit in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, it's just such a full good thing, even in the most dire situations. And not everything works out too. But when it does work out, it still makes sense. There's no ass pulls in this series. And that's just another thing I like about it. There's every comeback that happens feels like they all planned this even on the fly. It's not like, well, this miraculously happened to this miraculously happened to this, and this. It's like, no, hold on. It's whoever is in the spotlight at the moment use their wits to, and yes, sometimes it does rely on a little bit of luck, but they use their wits to outplay with every situation they need to, even if it's in the last moments. For example, Crom, when they first threw up the Treasure Island, and they got blasted with the beam, and they all got turned into stone, except for the people that was already on the island. Crom specifically was looking at the beam of light, and he was the first to notice that the light spread at a constant speed. So when it happens again, but to the whole fucking island, he had to figure out a way to communicate that information to Senku, so Senku can maybe fucking hat trick it, right? And he was able to communicate that information to everybody that was near him, so they was able to line up a signal to communicate to Senku that the light spreads at a constant speed. So when Senku got there and the light was coming towards him, he noticed that all the people that was already turned to statue were lined up in a specific way. So he had to figure out why they're lined up like this. What are they trying to communicate to me? Because I'm not going to be able to run away off this island before the beam hits me. So what do I need to do? And because it's Senku, we already know he's like a human calculator. He can roughly estimate what he needs to do in this situation. He figures it out. He tossed the miracle water up into the air. So that way, and then he sticks his hands out. That way, hold on. When it comes back down, it will hit his hand that already turned into stone, and cancel out the stonification, the petrification, right? And it's shit like that just feels like they all worked for this moment, Like it doesn't feel like an ass pull. We know how they were able to figure this out, and we know that the person who was able to use everything that they have learned for their advantage is able to do such a thing, Because we've seen it before, or we know their feats, So it makes sense. And then something on a little more luckier side. When Senku getting chased by the old nigga with the petrification beam, he was like, okay, I can still, I'm a better fighter than you. I'm just going to chase you down. And Senku's like, okay, I need to run through this forest. That's where he spots Ryusu. He fainted an attack by throwing miracle water at the nigga. And he just tossed them to the side, Like, okay, what the fuck is this fucking Senku tried to throw at me? Psh, get that shit out of here. One hits the tree. The other hits Ryusu, who was able to come back and who was able to come back and help Senku at the very end when Senku was almost dead off a fucking cliff, And it's shit like that that feels more okay. We needed to like get Secret away out of this hopeless situation. What do we have here? You know, what kind of little what it feels a little bit more the ass pull look or something that we can do here, right? And that's as like the most ass pulled it gets, right? And it doesn't even feel like an ass pull. It makes sense, you know? It makes sense that Suki would think, oh, if you swats it in this direction, it would hit Ryusu so he can come and help me. And it's shit like that that just makes everything so fucking good, you know? I don't even know how long I've been ranting. I've been ranting for like 20, 30 minutes. But I just it's such a good, and I haven't even gotten to Dr. Zeno. Oh, it's so good. It's so good, and it only gets up from Treasure Island. Oh, they go to America. Oh, it's so good. Oh, I cried. I cried. I cried a bit. I tried my best not to cry, but when I got to chapter 192, I cried. It's so good. I just like I really can't say read it more than fucking read it, but it's 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 peak fishing, bro. That's that's all I gotta say. The only mediocre part I would say, right? That if I really have to be critical of Dr. Stone, I would say the ending was pretty goofy. I'm not gonna spoil the ending because obviously, but the ending's pretty goofy. You can kind of predict it, but it feels so weird, kind of out of place. But it still makes sense to a degree, so I'm fine with it. But outside of that, it's one of the best songs ever, honestly. Like, look, I think I only hold Kill la Kill higher because I've been with Kill la Kill for like 10 years. And that's so it's just a part of me now. Other than that, again, I just have to read Fire Force and Jujutsu Kaisen. Because it's like, if niggas are going to tell me it's better, then I just have to see what's up, you know?